Hello dear member, today I am here with a tutorial of a very cute baby face. So in this tutorial we are going to learn to paint very soft colors and to bring out the innocence in a portrait. One of my friends always complains that it is very hard to paint a baby face because whenever she starts painting a baby face it ends up in like a very mature face or a kind of a very old face. That innocence, that tenderness, that of a baby face is not present in her painting. So if you are facing the same kind of problem, this tutorial is going to help you. Like any other portrait, it is very important to have a very clear and very accurate sketch. So if you are not very expert in sketching, then you can always trace the subject. If your sketch is accurate, then half of the problem is already solved. Now to paint a baby face, I will always prefer to take very soft colors that are transparent and that are also very delicate, like quin coral, like very diluted olive green. I will certainly avoid colors like alizarin crimson or like pyrol red or orange, which are very strong, but I have to put this color in few places where it is of very necessary. So as you can see me here, I have already wetted the paper. Now I am giving the initial wash with olive green on the areas which are illuminated or which are in direct light, and quin coral that is also very diluted for other pink looking areas. Now for the shadow, I have taken some hooker's green and deep scarlet, and I am painting the shadow areas and also for the nose bridge that has a little shadow. My paper is 300 GSM Arches 11 by 12 inches and my brush is a soft calligraphy brush made of wool. It is a natural hair brush. And now you are seeing me painting the neck and the shoulder with the same mix but with little bit more of deep scarlet. And I'm also painting the cheek, the left cheek with deep scarlet, and the chin area also. Remember that this is only the first layer, so when it will dry it will eventually become very light, so it is not going to show later on in the painting. But the first layer is the base layer of any portrait painting, so the color choices should be done very wisely or very thoughtfully. So the basic thing for the first layer I have done here, I have kept the number of colors very minimum. Like the highlight areas I have taken olive green, the midtone areas I have taken quin coral, and for the shadows I have taken a mix of hooker's green and deep scarlet. So this is the main color scheme of my whole painting. Now where it is too dark on his face, I will be putting some pyrrolin violet. I am not going to use any sepia on his face because sepia will be dull, and I don't want any kind of dullness. I want a very fresh and juvenile skin, so I will be avoiding sepia totally. Now for the second layer I have again mixed some deep scarlet and hooker's green. My paint is diluted. It is 20% paint and water, and I will be painting it in several layers in diluted form so that the painting remains fresh until the end. And I am very carefully putting this color over and surrounding the nose area where I can see the shadow. Now I am going to darken the shadow with a mix of Vermilion violet and deep scarlet. You can already see the comparatively darker areas on his face and shoulder. Now I just have to emphasize those areas more. But the question is, how much more? I usually look at the reference and try to match the depth according to the reference. So right now I am just putting the color over the left part of his face and the body because it is in stark shadow, as you can see the reference. Make sure all your paints are applied on wet surface, or at least it should be moist so that it doesn't create any hard edges. Now to blend the shadows with the highlight, I am going to mix some permanent green light and deep scarlet properly, and then I am going to blend those shadows with the highlight areas. Now I am going to adjust the depth little bit here and there to match again with the reference. You can see right now the depth of the reference is not quite similar to the painting, but after several layers it will become similar with the painting. So you just have to trust the process gradually, and finally it will look like the reference. To paint the dimple, you just have to leave a highlight area very similar to the reference. Then you have to darken the fold of the dimple with comparatively darker shade. Right now I am just putting some deep scarlet and also some pyrol violet to match the colors with the reference. Now to paint the right cheek, I am going to wet this area, and then to give some warmth I will take some pyrol orange and mix it with my previous mix. And then first I am going to paint the fold on his cheek due to the smile. I am going to apply the paint wet on wet. I will make sure that the orange blends properly with rest of the cheek. Then I am just darkening the top and bottom part of the cheek to make a circular highlight area on his cheek due to the smile. Now I am going to mix some hooker's green and some pyrol violet to darken the fold. After putting the color, I am just blending it with my wet calligraphy brush. Now I have taken a very thick Vermilion violet and I will just put it in very selective place where the picture is really dark. After putting the paint, I am just trying to blend it a little bit with the surrounding skin so that it looks natural. Now I am going to take some olive green and paint the base layer of the hair, and also I will darken it with very diluted Vermilion violet. I am also going to paint the eyebrows. Remember, this is not the eyebrow but the skin beneath the eyebrows. So you have to gradually proceed to paint the skin in layers. To paint the eyebrows, you must have to paint the skin first, and then we can put the hair of the eyebrows in place. Now with the same olive green, I am just giving some warmth on the areas that has been illuminated with light, and also on the skin that is just below the nose and above the upper lip. But before applying the color, I am just wetting the paper so that the paint doesn't have any hard edge. So now I am going to paint the mouth, the smile. So I have to be very careful, and also I have to look at the reference again and again, because a very innocent mistake can totally change the emotion of the painting. So I have just put an initial layer of whatever paint was there on my brush, and then I am going to paint the shadows first because I don't want to lose the sketch. So I just put some pyrrolene violet over the wet surface and the shadows just around the tongue wet on dry, because the shadows are very stark, so I don't need to blend them. I need that hard edge, so I just put the color wet on dry. And then for the tongue, I'm just taking some quin coral that was already present on my palette. I'm just blending those shadow and the quin coral together to paint the tongue. And also I have to leave some white space for those two teeth that is being visible. And yes, it is almost done, but the only thing is, after drying you have to put some few layers again to get that required depth to match with the reference. Right now I have taken some quin coral and I'm just painting the upper lips. The lips are very thin, so it just seemed a little tough for me, because the leaves are also not quite visible, so it was little troublesome for me to paint the leaves though. But I think the way I had painted it had worked. So after putting the quin coral, I'm just blending the paint outward, so that there shouldn't be any proper like defined lip, because the babies don't have a very defined lip. So I have to blend the skin with the surrounding areas, the lip skin with the surrounding areas, but also I have to make that impression of having a lip, right? So I have just decided to change the color scheme. For the lip I have put just quin coral, and for the surrounding skin it is quite warm olive green and some oranges, so that the lips become very visible, but without any hard differentiation from the surrounding skin. Now for the nose, I am going to wet this area first, and then I will again use some warm colors like orange and olive green that was present on my palette. And also I am mixing some orange and permanent green light, and then I am going to put it wet on wet over the nose tip. There is a very cute highlight, round highlight on his nose, that will surely make the nose a 3D subject, and I have to keep that highlight intact. So I have not wet that area, that highlight area, so that the paint doesn't seep in that white area, and keep it intact. Now after putting the initial layer, I have just taken deep scarlet. It is quite thick, and I'm just putting it on the shadow areas. Then for like a dot, I will just put a dot of pyrrolene violet where it is the darkest. The painting is all about putting color and blending it properly, and just a practice of controlling yourself to keep the colors dilute, and also to dry the layers in between. So after painting the nose tip, I am just darkening the skin below the nose properly to get the desired depth that matches with the reference. As there is no more place on my palette, I am just using the boundary of the palette, and I have taken some sepia to darken the nostril and also the mouth. I have to darken it quite dark so that the face looks 3D, three-dimensional. To give a dimension, I have to darken it with sepia. But remember, you don't have to put sepia on any other place other than the nostril and the mouth, inside the mouth. So now for the eyes, I am just going to paint the eyelashes first. The eyes are closed, so it shouldn't be any problem to paint them. You just have to be specific about the skin surrounding the eye, but not about the eye. So I'm just going to put the sepia over the eyelash, and later on I have to darken it. I may have to darken it with some neutral tint, but it will be a very uh, low amount. It will be in very low amount. So after putting the sepia, I'm just blending it properly. Now for the areas that are in shadow, the paints are already dried, and I have to give another layer to match with the reference. So I have just wet the paper, and now I am going to mix some deep scarlet and some pyrrolene violet together. And yes, I am just going to put the paint wet on wet, and the paint is quite thick. It is like 40-60 paint and water. Now I have taken some pyrrolene violet only, and I'm just putting those pyrrolene violet where the shadows are deeper. And then I'm just blending those shadows with the highlight with my another brush that has some olive green in it. This olive green will act like mid-tone. Now I am going to darken all the folds that are showing the shadows and the map on his face, like the fold of skin just beside the eye socket and also on his nose. I am using the same color scheme you can see on my palette. To match the shadow on his face and the shoulder, I have to use the same colors, so I am just putting the same color on his shoulder. But for the neck region, I am using some pyrol orange to blend as a mid-tone color, because it is like not in too much light like the forehead. And also I am mixing some permanent green light and pyrol orange, and after putting the color I have to blend it because the paper is dry, I think. So after putting this color and blending it properly, I am going to sleep, and I will complete this painting tomorrow, and I will post this tutorial in 2 parts. So let's meet again with the second part of this tutorial. Till then, happy painting.